Welcome Dart Players one and all. Today we've got quite a long one because I'm answering a lot of questions from you guys about trying to go from one level of your game to another. So I do recommend you watch this when you've got a little bit of peace and quiet so you can take it all in, because there's some really key bits of information that I wouldn't want you to miss. So we'll start by talking about practice plans firstly. Now, the key to a successful practice plan is tailoring it exactly to your needs. And how do we do that? We start with an honest self-assessment of where you're at the moment. And what I mean by that is your average game. So there are 4 parts to every player's game which I think are key. That is the A game, our B game, our C game, and our D game. Our A game is a level of game that we can do. We know it's in the locker, we hit it on the practice board now and again, but we can't really hope to achieve it in a game. Our B game is what we're aiming for. So our B game is the best we are aiming to play. If we go into a competition and we hit our B game, we've done our job right. Our C game is the most important. So that is your average game. And our D game is when we're below average, is when we're fighting with ourselves and struggling to get through the game. Anything below that is just a day to forget. Those are our key areas. The biggest mistake dart players make is they will try to improve their A game. You need to be working on improving your C game. That is what's going to win you matches. That's what's going to get your average up. Start by asking yourself, what is an A game? So your A game is the best you can ever possibly dream of playing. So I've hit it once in an actual game. I averaged 126 over the best of 3 legs in my local league in Swansea. I hit a 170 out, included in that. Place went nuts. It was crazy. That is my A game. Now the problem with working towards your A game is this. As we make small improvements to become better at darts, our A game rises. You will never be as good as your A game. That's why it's your A game. We need to work on our fundamentals, our C game, keeping our game as solid as we possibly can. So if you're a 50 average player, and this tends to be the average that most people have been asking for help with, getting from 50 to 60, which is a big step. You're going from being a basic pub player, a relatively middle to low tier pub player, to a good pub player, even lower Super League player. So it is a big jump up. If we're aiming for that, what we need to be doing is setting ourselves practice routines and forcing ourselves to play our average game on the practice board or better. So I showed a practice game a couple of weeks ago in which I went all around the board on doubles. 3 darts double 1, 3 darts double 2, 3 darts double 3. Even if I miss with all 3, I still go to the next double. Double or nothing. When I started to try and improve my C game for the first time, I went round the board on those doubles. I found the average amount of points I was hitting was 8 points, which is relatively low. I suppose it's achievable for like a 50 average player. I suppose that's roughly what I would have been at the time. So I did that every day for a week, just round the board on doubles, regardless of whether I hit them or not, and I counted how many points I had. 1 point for every one I get. If I get 3 in the double one, I've got 3 points in the first visit. I was only averaging 8 points, including the bullseye at the end as well. After I'd done that for a week and I'd worked out my average was 8, I went round the board, and if I didn't get at least 8 points, I went round again. And I kept doing this once a day, every day, for about a month. As soon as I had that nailed in, and this was becoming easily achievable, then I upped it. So, okay, let's assess it again. And I found I went up from 8 to 12 within about a month. So, same again. And I went round until I got 12 points. If I didn't get 12 points, back round again. And what you'll find is that the higher you go in the game, the longer it's going to take you to hit different milestones. That's completely natural. So if it takes you 6 months to get from a 50 average to a 60, it's completely normal for it to take about a year to get from 60 to 70. Maybe longer. You do have a say in it. You can always work harder at your game, but it's important to give yourself a rest and not put too much stress on yourself. It's no good for anyone. If you over practice, or you're forcing yourself to play when it's not going well, you're practicing mistakes. Huge issue with your development. So be careful of that. So whatever the aspect is that you're specifically suffering with, whether it be keeping all the darts in the 20, or whether it's switching to different targets, that is what you need to be working on. But the key is to strengthen your foundation. Make your C game as strong as possible. If your C game is here, and your A game is here, you're going to see this happen. By doing this, that is the common misconception. People think that if my A game's here and my C game's here, I'm going to keep getting better and it's going to go like this, and it's going to go like this, and it's going to go like this, and before I'm a great player. It's not going to happen. That's not how players develop. And the higher your C game goes, you'll start seeing that your B game becomes better. And your D game goes up with it. It's about upping your overall game. If you go through all the lessons that I've provided so far, follow them full-heartedly, in time you will get there. I promise you. Every video I've put out has been based around keeping the game as universal as possible, so that we're not relying on natural ability. That's another point. A few people have brought up natural ability in questions to me. What is natural ability? It's the ability to do something spontaneously, without practice, better than the average person. It doesn't really mean a lot. If you take a player like Glenn Durrant wasn't the best player in his local Super League. That is mind-boggling. He's a 3-time world champion. You get to decide how good you're going to be. You can't choose how good you are now. You can decide how good you want to become. That's entirely up to you. If you want to be a 10 plus average player, the only thing stopping you is you. Follow the instructions. Keep the game as simple as you possibly can. And work. I have learned to play this game twice with hardly any natural ability at all. The first time right-handed, then I had dartitis and I injured myself, my right arm, switched hands and I've started again. I couldn't hit the board left-handed. It took me 2 years. I stood 3 meters away from the board, I threw at the dartboard. I did that for months. Then I took a step back and I did that for months. And eventually, after 2 years, I was at 7'9¼ and I can hit 45s and 60s. Not regularly. I know what makes a good dart player. I know more about this sport than I need to. And I'm sharing it for free. Seems like a good deal. Anyway, that's it from me. That's it for today, guys. That's straight to the point. Please like and subscribe. And as always, I really do hope this helped your game.